Welcome to this subject. Some of you may know me. I am Patricia Guzmán, and I will be your teacher for the time being. We're going to start this journey talking about the importance of literature for children, especially when we are teaching a second language. Now, there are several issues that concern the importance of teaching literature for children. For example, the socio-affective argument. We all know that children love stories. They are familiar with narrative conventions, and listening to story is something they are used to doing since they are very little, at home and also in other school contexts. Stories help children understand their world and share it with others, forging links between home and school. Storytelling has predictable routines with predictable formats, providing children with pointers which encourage participation. There's also a cognitive argument, that is, stories link with other curriculum areas, providing for continuity in learning. Stories also develop children's learning strategies, listening for general meaning, predicting, guessing, hypothesizing. And they also, of course, exercise the imagination. But there's also linguistic and psycholinguistic arguments. For example, stories provide a natural and relevant context for exposure to language. Reading picture books to children has been investigated in positively promoting vocabulary development in children. And picture books expose children to rich, authentic language which they otherwise would not encounter. The story visuals, the storyteller's voice, mime, gestures all support meaning and enable children to develop their listening and concentration skills. Children listen with purpose to find meaning. In using stories in language teaching, we are using much more than language. We are using the stories as a vehicle for learning. Now, storytelling is an accepted and widely used approach in the teaching of English language classroom. It represents a holistic approach, and it is inside the communicative approach that enables story to take its place in our English classrooms, bringing the following to language learning: a focus on meaning rather than the medium, with an emphasis on fluency; the information gap, where students are encouraged to use their learning to understand authentic text; a focus on process rather than products; an emphasis on negotiation rather than predetermination; and a teacher who acts as facilitator, not just instructor. Throughout time and across cultures, storytelling has been instrumental for entertaining, informing, and teaching people. The images and situations the word evokes are many. They bring to mind the picture of the ancient keepers of tradition, the storytellers or teachers who share with the members of their tribes the artful strategies of hunters during the chase or the heroic deeds of soldiers in the battlefield. Also, they recover for us scenes of our personal past, childhood in particular, when we sat in the company of caring adults willing to give us the gift of their time and told us stories which held us in thrall for hours. But why to tell stories? The appeal of storytelling is inherent to all human beings. As social creatures, our need to reach out to other people, to communicate our needs, or to express our feelings is just as significant as is our interest to learn about our friends' own fears and concerns, and react compassionately to them. We all have a time to express and a time to listen to others. No matter who we are and what we do, where we come from, we are all natural storytellers. And throughout our lives, we tell stories. The home, the school, the supermarket, the doctor's office, a social gathering are all natural scenarios for our performances. Have you heard the latest? You won't believe this, or I've got something to tell you, are the ritualized starters by means of which our interlocutors captivate our willing, undivided attention to listen to what they have to say. Like generations before us, we have been the recipients of these forms of oral literature. We have found through it links to our historical or cultural past, or have used it as benchmarks for others to understand our world and theirs. As Barbara Hardy pointed out in 1979, we dream in narrative, we daydream in narrative. In order really to live, we make up stories about ourselves and others, about the personal as well as the social, past and future. Do you recall the last time you used a phrase like, guess to me this morning? Who did you tell the story to? Was your story amusing? Was it sad? What was the other person's reaction? For some time now, educators and language experts have emphasized the significance of storytelling with learners, particularly in the case of second and foreign language learners. It's very important that we interact and use meaningful communication as well as we enhance the quality of listen. This makes us motivate them and give them coherence to language tasks. Now, who does not remember the first stories and our first storytellers? Who are our first storytellers? Our parents, grannies, the teachers. All of them contribute to our learning as young kids. And there's something that we share. As Haley says, children who are not spoken to by live and responsive adults would not learn to speak properly. Children who are not answered will stop asking questions. They will become incurious. And children who are not told stories and who are not read to will have few reasons for wanting to learn to read. Now, let's think about ourselves. Let's think about when we were children. Who were our first storytellers? Granny? Grandpa? Dad? Mom? A teacher? A friend? A godfather or godmother? A friend from our neighborhood? That is very important, and that's why I'm encouraging you to say and remember who they were. I remember my mom telling me stories, and that's why I remember clearly that this was my favorite one. Snow White, exactly with that cover. And also in English, because I was given that book by a friend from my neighborhood. And I didn't know how to read, and I didn't know how to read in English, of course. And my mom told me the story because she could read the pictures, but not the context. When I grew older and I understood that neither my mom nor I could read the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in the original language, I wanted to learn English. And that was the way I started learning the language that has become almost my life. So as an invitation, I'm asking you to remember who were your first storytellers. Tell us, and also the story that was the best story for you or the one you cherish the most. You can make a video, you can make a recording, you can make a PowerPoint, and then you will share it with the others. Thank you for listening. See ya.